Thank you for joining us for the news review right here on the AM show. We get into the nitty-gritty and we bring you all you need to know about some of those very thorny developments. Yes, the recklessness index, the fiscal recklessness index, but we'll also be talking a bit about this entire trade-off, if you like, or the standoff between Her Excellency the High Commissioner, the UK High Commissioner to Ghana, Harriet Thompson, and our IGP, Dr. George Ekuffo-Dampare. Interesting subjects we're delving into this morning on the show. But let me say a very good morning to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist and head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, a very good morning to you. I think you'd have to unmute, Doc.
Yes. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
I hope you're well.
Very well. And yourself?
By God's grace, I'm very well. So let me start you off on a bit of a thorny subject when it comes to this morning's interaction. I have followed exactly what has transpired between the High Commissioner from her tweet to the response from the IGP. And I just want to find out from you, overkill or not? Was it as innocuous when she says, we've got our eyes on you? Basically, we're watching to see what ensues. And then she uses language like, again, also then making reference to what Oliver Mause-Baka-Vomawo did in the past. I have my own thoughts when it comes to what Oliver posted the first time that led to the entire meltdown and his incarceration, prison, police custody and all of that. But in this instance, the gentleman is said to have flouted traffic regulations, whether en route to court or not. What is your take? Was it as harmless as has been purported? Because she's been speaking and she says the IGP's response, citing the Vienna Convention of 1961 and all that, was a stretch. But was it really a stretch, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante?
Yeah, Ben, if you look at what has gone on, you realize that the diplomat should have stayed in the middle of the process. It is true that he may have concerns about the issue, but there is a channel through which you can, pass your grievances to, and that is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. If he had used that channel, the story would have been different. And for me, that is where the difficulty is, right? Yes, it appears harmless, but it can also undermine the security process of this country. And that is why the IGP also responded the way he did. It is also true that maybe the High Commissioner did not intend to, churn out something that will have that negative consequence. And if you listen to his comments,
indeed, that is what she says. Indeed, that is what she says, that her intent was never to stoke any trouble.
Yes.
She says that categorically. But the tweet looked at in different dimensions, as per what the likes of Professor Vladimir Mpidanso and others have said, smacks of Big Brother UK saying, I've got my eyes on you. You better watch how you work. And some have said that is inimical to the sovereignty we enjoy as a country.
Yeah, that is all that I'm saying, that, you should have waited. Political communication comes in, all right? You need to weigh the kind of statement you make, the recipient reaction and all that. So this has really created the problem. But the good news is that I listened to the Excellency saying that, yes, he will use the backdoor approach to deal with the issue. For me, that is the way to go, because I'm not sure we are in, a brawl with UK, which have been a colonial master, and then a great, partner in all the things that we do in this country. So I'm sure that this thing can be settled behind the scenes so that next time we know how to tread cautiously.
Well, some have said that maybe using colonial master, just because you use that term, is not the most politically correct, and that we should simply say colonizers and the rest, because masters, I do not know about that. But let's move on from that. So just to conclude on that beat, do you also feel that the IGP, because some have said that he was also fully aware of how he could have gone about this process instead of hitting the nail smack on the head, maybe using a sledgehammer to kill a fly, but hitting the nail the way he did. Do you feel the IGP also overreacted?
I would say he reacted, but as to whether he overreacted, he has said in his release that there have been painful experiences and they did not want to, have another one on their hands. And that, I'm sure that defines the way he reacted. But I believe that all in all, they could have, avoided this situation and used the back door to address this issue. But going forward, it tells everybody that, yes, you have to work within the framework of whatever rules that govern your conduct. Once we stay within that confines, I'm sure all of us will be fine.
Right. And now, at least we know that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has intervened, has stepped in and tried to bring some resolution to the matter. Hopefully, we will bring some closure to this thorny issue. It also reminds me of some comments from former High Commissioner John Benjamin in the past. Well, maybe a good thing that we ended up at this point in our history. But let's move on from there to another thorny issue right before we get into the papers. I'm sure you've seen the Fiscal Recklessness Index as put together by Imani Africa. Of course, they source the Auditor General's report and all of that. But you look at the script from 2015 to 2020, Doc, and it makes for very sad reading. The finance ministry in many countries, especially in the countries we seek to emulate, is one of the most disciplined fiscally and beyond. But you look at our finance ministry and other MDAs, ministries, departments, agencies, and the recklessness on a fiscal level is mind-boggling. 13.9 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to about 3.64% of our GDP. That is what was sunk or has been lost on the back of the fiscal recklessness of these agencies. And at the very top is the finance ministry. Your take?
I love the research. It's a good one. It's going to serve as a guide for holders of public office.
Right.
So that they will be aware that whatever they do, there are people who are watching. It's a good one. The real issue is that, is it true or is it not that we have a lot of resources slipping through our fingers?
Right.
And yet we go around the world looking for resources. We could save this one, put them together and then use them internally. All right. So I am happy that you have a think tank coming up to help us to deal with this. We should reflect on this and then take it in our stride to make sure that we right the wrongs. What are we seeing? We have seen a lot of reports about, a lot of resources that we are not able to handle well.
Right.
Prudent measures are ignored and all that. So I think it's a wake-up call to the finance ministry and all the departments under that ministry that it oversees, that it will do its work extremely well and plug all these holes. We must also be fair to the finance ministry that if you look at all the allegations or the things that the report point to, we can't blame all at the doorstep of the finance ministry, simply because there are other department agencies,
right, the GRA among others,
and exactly, and they are been accused or they have been criticized for these wrongdoing. But because the finance ministry is an umbrella body that oversees all this thing, it takes the responsibility on all that. Going forward, I'm sure the finance ministry will put a foot down and then make sure that all these department agencies will live up to expectation. And that once we are able to do this, I'm not sure we'll worry ourselves so much of looking for resources, because there are a lot that we can save and make better use of. But except that we have been we have been unable to do that for reasons which I don't know. But prudence requires on the part of what finance ministry to be able to do a good job, so that at the end of the day, we will not come across such a report. The report is a good one, and I want a lot of this in various aspects of our life so that we can set up as a state.
Well, let's also look at this story, the Daily Graphic, starting from there. A year on, motorway still in bad shape. A year on, motorway still in bad shape. The 19-kilometer concrete Accra-Tema motorway continues to deteriorate and pose grave danger to motorists. A year after the Daily Graphic reported the deteriorating state of the 56-year-old motorway, potholes, bitumen patches, erosion, and hardened lumps from spilled concrete are still posing a danger and discomfort to drivers and passengers who commute on it on a daily basis. Now, on both sides of the country's only concrete motorway, potholes, some of which have been patched with bitumen, have left the road in a dangerous state, especially at night when visibility on the stretch is poor. Now, 5 weeks of monitoring by the Daily Graphic as a follow-up to a similar exercise in March last year revealed that the Tema-Accra section is the most affected. For instance, the portion of the motorway around the Ashaiman toll booth, where transit trucks park on the shoulders, sometimes for hours, has developed potholes while erosion has eaten into the edges. It's a pretty lengthy story. You should grab a copy of the Daily Graphic and get more details. But it brings me to the point. 1965, the year when Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, started this exercise. We had it, 1965. Look at how many years it has been since that time. It is our only concrete stretch in this country. We're patching it with bitumen, asphalt, and all of that. And I use the stretch. Whenever I use the stretch, it's so bumpy at certain ends, even the portions that have been patched, that if your tire has problems or something, you could easily skid off. I mean, I always, when I get this way, I feel sometimes I'm too passionate about it. But I don't know if you can see, Doc, this is what our motorway looks like on many portions. And it is so sad. I don't know. I don't know what you think, really. I really don't know.
I share your pain. I share your pain. And it's a concern that I have expressed over the years, even before my students in class, that when Nkrumah was building this, there were a lot of agitations that he was building things that we did not need at the time and all that. But look at it. From the time Nkrumah built it up to date, it has stood the test of time. So the little that we could do to save it, we refuse to do by maintaining the culture of maintenance. Is missing in this country. And that really moves us into the realm of what? Our weak capacity in the area of what? Technical capacity of the state. That we don't have what it takes to maintain and develop things using technical know-how. The good news also is that we have a lot of engineers, government has a lot of outfits that are responsible for the maintenance of these things. What are they doing? Are they sleeping? And yet they are drawing salaries from the government. Sometimes we have to also be fair to government. That everything we want to blame it on government. But what about those whose immediate responsibility goes to that very thing we are talking about? We ignore them and then attack government.
So for example, the Department for Urban Roads,
exactly,
the DUR, for example.
Exactly. What are they doing? Is it not their duty? Do you want the chief executive to come down to inspect roads?
But it still falls under government machinery. It still falls under government machinery. So from the top, someone must be able to say, whether roads minister, transport minister, this must be done. But my problem is, look at the Fourth Republic. Look at how we've treated the motorway within the last 30 years. Look at how we've treated the motorway.
Yeah, I know. But you see, if it is your immediate responsibility, why are you waiting for somebody to direct you? It's your duty. You are called to duty. The fact that you draw salary on government payroll, it is a duty that you need to perform to earn that income. Are they doing that? And who is taking them on? All right. Supervision is missing in this country, and we have thrown everything away and we complain. We have to get serious so as to deal with some of these things head on. You see, I traveled to the United States and I visited a place in Massachusetts, Boston, for instance, the capital. And I saw how beautiful the city was. So we were in Parliament to speak to the head of Senate. And I asked him, what is the trick that you've maintained a lot of things here in a very top shape? He said, look, the people themselves sometimes take the trouble to develop these things and then give the bill to the government to pay. And once they do that, they want to make sure that these things are kept in check and then held in high quality level. What are we doing here? We see people even destroying roads and all that. and we are mute. We don't say anything. When you see anything, say something about it if it's not good. And this process that we are doing now, speaking on them and all that, will go a long way to help this. Please,
Right.
if we want to really develop this country, we need to shy away from some of these things and develop a culture that is healthy to maintain some of these things. We'll spend money to develop them.
Right. Some very interesting stories on pages 16 and 20. Page 20, 320 recovered Pantang patients reintegrate with families. I'll get into the stories on page 16, but first, Isuzu Motors, and it appears all of them are coming now. Nissan, Volkswagen, and the rest. Isuzu Motors to assemble vehicles in Ghana. Delegation calls on President Akufo-Addo. But whenever I talk about this, I'll also say there's also a certain Kantanka. I don't have any relatives in that family. I'm not related, but it is homegrown. What can we do to also ensure that as we bring in these other parties to assemble, we also grow our own, just as the Toyota family in Japan gave us Toyota, which back then people considered to be coffins on the road, but today is the leading producer of vehicles across the world. But let's get into this one, page 16. GRA to replace tins with Ghana card numbers next year. And beginning next year, the Ghana Revenue Authority will replace tax identification numbers with the Ghana card numbers. This will enable the authority to access information from other government agencies, including the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, the Driver, Vehicle and Licensing Authority, the National Health Insurance Authority, and the Lands Commission to enhance its operations. So quite a move there, GRA replacing tins with a Ghana card. Your quick take on that?
It's a good thing. The digitization process is a good thing. That government can use it to track all the processes, and it's also in tandem with what the good governance agenda, that government activities must be open and accessible, so that yes, if you need any information about how government is making money out of these things, you can find that. If you can also find out where the money is kept and all that. And we can find out individuals, their responsibilities. Are they paying or not? So that a particular individual is defaulting. We can trace and then get him to settle his debts and all that. It is a good thing. My prayer is that the money that we draw from this, we accumulate from these processes, we must put them into good use. Why are people resisting taxation and all that? It's simply because they think that the money that are taken from them are not put into good use. We pray and then urge government that this time around, we have to ensure prudence of the use of the money. Once we do that, look, we are good to go.
All right. There is this thorny issue, though. I'll read something else from the story that sort of reacts to that. But there's this issue, though, about the fact that in this country, we spend a lot doing things that eventually become useless, redundant. We spent a lot on the TIN arrangement, the tax identification numbers, and people, were compelled in some cases to travel long ways just to get to GRA offices and ensure that they got their TIN. And now, all of a sudden, it's practically becoming redundant because of the Ghana card. How do you feel about that, the use of state resources on some of these ventures?
I admit that some of these things sometimes create very uncomfortable situation for people because it's a law, you need to comply with it and all that. But when later its use or usage is thrown out, then it's a cause for worry. It tells you that sometimes some of these programs, there is not a deep thought through process. So you start with something and later you jettison that thing. It is important that going forward, any program that you want to bring on board, we reflect on them. We bring the stakeholders onto it, look at it critically before we introduce them. It will help all of us so that any program that you bring on board will be accepted, defended by all. But when we start a process, difficult as it was, and then midstream, we throw it away, then it creates a problem when a new one comes, how people are going to perceive that. But I'm sure that these are some of the lingering challenges in any area of governance that government must be able to overcome in no time, since we have experts who can help us to develop something that will stand the test of time.
Well, a bit of a top-up. You don't have to react to this, but per the paper, the Chief Revenue Officer of the GRA says, you will realize that the Ghana card number is unique to every individual. With a tin, some people, in their attempt to beat the system, managed to get additional tins so that at any point in time they would use which number, decide which number to use to their advantage. But with the Ghana card coming into being, I think some of these challenges will be solved. So those are some of the things that have been said in defense of the switch or the integration.
Yeah, but did they consider that? This should have been part of the preparatory work. Yes.
That's the question.
So it means that something went wrong in the initial processes. But we are saying that put that one aside. Let's make use of the Ghana card and make sure that we draw the necessary resources that we need to drive the economic agenda of this country.
All right. Doc, in some 8 minutes, we'll be wrapping. So I want us to quickly do this. Prosecute Bank of Ghana officials over CD depreciation. A legal practitioner has petitioned the AG to prosecute the governor of the Bank of Ghana and other officials of the bank over the sharp fall in the Ghana CD. Dr. John E. Bading is urging the AG to go behind the Bank of Ghana over what is known in law as lifting the corporate veil and hold the top officials of the central bank responsible for the woes of the city that have affected the general economy and individuals. He says it is out of line and must be brought back in line as our laws demand. Your quick take on this?
That's a lawyer speaking, but my view is that are you going to hold public officers for wrongdoing in the course of their work? Political appointments.
Maybe we should start going there, right? Maybe we should start going there. And when we do, we will enjoy what the likes of Japan do.
Why do you have political officers? Yeah, why do you have political officers within the bureaucracy? That they are responsible for whatever goes on. All right. The public officers over there operate on the principle of what? Anonymity and all that. So if they advise government and government says that that's okay, we go about it. All right. It is the duty of government to look at it carefully, see whether that advice is something to work with. Otherwise, it is not a public official who is supposed to bear the consequence of his advice and all that. Then what becomes of what the minister who is there and taking on allowances and all that? That is the duty of the political officer within the bureaucracy. So I have a difficulty there. But if that is the law, let's test this and see whether it will survive. For me, democracy, as we all know, anchors on what? Rule of law. So any effort at testing the law, for me, it brings a sigh of relief to me.
Right. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, quite a number of stories. JIDA proposes special tariffs for small-scale farmers to aid food production. There's also IGP advises British High Commissioner to keep within limits. But the story on page 16, the banner headline, Cancer, major killer disease in 2020. 15,802 people died, 24,009 new cases recorded. And of course, we know there are different types of cancer. Thus, liver cancer topped the list of 10 leading cancer deaths recorded in 2020, followed by breast cancer, cervical cancer, uteri, prostate, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, stomach, ovary, lung, leukemia, and cancer of the esophagus in that order. Similarly, over 600,000 cases of hypertension and 200,000 of diabetes were recorded in health facilities. It appears when you look at the trajectory that our health generally as a country, which also feeds into the Human Development Index, it appears in this stead we have quite a lot of challenges, Doc.
There are lots. We have not put in a lot of resources to address these problems. Go to our hospitals. Let us be fair to government that they've done their bit to support the hospitals. But is it enough? Is it enough? Sometimes if you see their budget, it's nothing to write home about. We need to, as a people, sit down, reflect on these things, and then help to build a solid health sector. Without it, I tell you, all we are doing will come to naught because we need the labor force to be strong. We need the aging population to be strong. And we need everybody to be strong to go about their normal duties. So it is important we consider this and stop wasting resources on unnecessary things. All right? Unnecessary things. I was always thinking that, look, building structures such as cathedrals and all that, they are good. But look, imagine we have used the same process to raise at least one CD from every Ghanaian who really want to help build a first-class hospital for this country. What would have been the story?
Right.
A good one. When we finish, we'll replicate in other regions. But we decided to go on another tangent and all that. My worry is that, look, we need to pay particular attention to our health. This is the key to our development.
Right. Let's do two quick stories from the Daily Guide newspaper now. And the first one, I'll just lift the two of them very briefly for your quick reactions. Addo trial begins, we all recall. And the Office of the Attorney General yesterday called the Acting Director of Operations at the National Ambulance Service as its first witness in the trial of former Deputy Minister of Finance, Cassiel Addo, and two others who have been accused of causing financial loss to the state. We know the details of that story in the procurement of ambulances, which supposedly were not fit for purpose. The other story, Nana Konadu scores Jean Mensah high. And Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, former First Lady, founder and presidential candidate of the National Democratic Party, yesterday rated the performance of the Electoral Commission under its chairperson, Jean Mensah, as outstanding. Your quick reaction to these stories?
Yeah, for us to be able to interrogate the issues properly, we want to know the standard, the canons with which he used to measure the conduct of the EC boss to warrant that assessment that he did. I don't know. So I don't know the index that he used. Difficult to comment on that. But if we want to look at the Electoral Commission as a body in its totality, that there are a lot of standards that we can use. We want to look at its mandate. Has it been able to perform that within this time that it was put into office? You look at what the election management system. You look at what voter registration exercises. You look at the balloting, monitoring and results during elections, and the post-election conflict resolution mechanisms. Do we have them in place? These are some of the standards that we use. I don't know what Nana Konadu use, so I will not be able to comment so much. If I use any of the standard that you and I know, then we'll be in a position to comment on that.
All right, two quick stories and we're wrapping the conversation. First from Republic Press, no time to test waters, John Wedu warns as he launches campaign. All of that yesterday with the support of the likes of Chairman Wuntumi, among others. And he is saying this is not the time to do matrai makwe, so that you bring in someone else. It could be fatal to the MPP. And then the BNFT, imagine this, telcos lose 300,000 mobile money subscribers in April. Telcos lose 300,000 mobile money subscribers in April. 4,000 agents are gone. Volume goes down by 10 million, and the volume of transactions declined by 2.8 billion Ghana cedis. Quick reactions, and we're done, Doc.
What is the cause of that? Is it because of the e-levy or what? We want to know this. Yes. It is not clear as to why we are losing those people. So if we are losing them in such amazing rapidity, then there is the need for us to reflect on it.
So just to clarify, Doc, this was shortly before the e-levy. So in a way, you could say that maybe not for all of them, but there would be some tangential effect because people, you know how people were clearing their accounts and all of that before the e-levy. It happened right in the window before the e-levy.
Yes, but before you make such a bold statement, you need a research to identify the views, the concerns of the people, so that we can really interrogate the issues properly. So I think, yes, it has given us food for thought. Now it is up to the stakeholders to go onto the field and then get us the relevant data so that we will know where we are going wrong. We need more people on the job front to have jobs, because now there is a large army of unemployed youth moving around, which is not safe for this country. So when we are losing such magnitude of people, then it's a cause for worry.
Doc, thank you for joining us for another beautiful morning. Do have a fantastic day. Happy New Month to you.
Thank you. I wish you the same.
All right. So we have sports coming your way next. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.